Hello and welcome back inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 797. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now!
AKA Negative Camber. Tonight, for your kind consideration, I am remotely going to discuss Formula One news. That's what we do on off-race weekends. But before doing that, of course, I have to introduce my co-host. You know her, you love her, all the way from the right coast of our nation. Nestled in our nation's capital. You know her, you love her. It's the lovely, the redoubtable
Grace!
Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So just up front, if the audio quality is a little different, if the video quality is a little different, I am not in my normal studio. I am on it's supposed to be a vacation, but really it's everyday conference calls and work. So it's work with a view.
Yeah, different location, same day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, same day. So
Yeah.
apologies up front if you're listening and if I sound a little thin because all I have is this headset mic, and so apologies for that.
That's all right. I mean, how many of these have we done for me in some random hotel room in some random city in the United States where I'm like, well, I hope this works until everybody else takes all the hotel bandwidth. So we're fine.
Yeah. Well, and
We were just like one Netflix video away from like losing the whole show. So it's fine.
which I actually may be in this place that I'm at. So I'm on a Wi-Fi, so we'll see how this goes. I'm teetering close to Paul Charsley quality when he's at a race in a dodgy hotel room at 8 p.m. and everybody's, streaming Netflix.
Exactly. So, well, at least the people, you just need like a Nerf gun so you can like shoot your family members like, no more Netflix, get off Hulu.
Yeah.
I need the bandwidth.
Yeah, and my wife
Go
and
play
daughter,
outside.
they're in watching Netflix, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
this will be fun, and
Yeah.
we'll
We got
squeeze
it.
in the show.
I mean, it's the third week of break. There's no news because whatever news there is, they're saving up to like Thursday when everybody shows up at Spa. So
I know.
we just got what we got, right? There's
I know.
nothing.
Yeah, I think
else.
Thursday it'll all drop like a news bomb,
Right. But this moment, this is always the worst.
I mean, how many for 3 weeks, 3 shows? How many times can we reiterate the Daniel Ricciardo thing?
Dear Fernando Alonso, do you think you could spread out your news across all 3 weeks instead of just dropping that bomb day one? Because I got 3 shows I got to fill.
It's going to trickle it out.
Yeah, right. Some videos, some intrigue. Don't just like tell us and then, we interview Otmar Schnafnauer and that's it. Show's over.
Yeah, you should have started off Instagram post wearing an Aston Martin hat.
Exactly.
Or something.
Or just showing up in the car or something like that. Just a little,
Yeah.
Get the people talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, let's talk about some news, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
I found some news, and the first thing in the news,
you deserve an award for that, first of all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was not easy. I had to poke around a little bit. But you thought you were done with him. You're not done with him. You probably were done with him, but everyone else won't let it go. We're still on a Michael Massey watch for some reason. He's been drummed out of Formula One.
All right.
And his job is toast. His employment at the FIA is toast. Everything's gone. You've literally shoved him out to the curb with his box and potted plant, right?
Oh, right.
And so now there is this news story that came out. It said he may be taking up a new job. And so, but that doesn't stop.
As he should. I mean, the guy's still got to work, right? Like, he's got to feed himself.
Yeah, he's got a family. He's
find some fulfillment, right? He still needs a job.
Right. So, but it doesn't stop social media and the strong desire to continue to destroy Michael Massey. That's alive and well. So the news story is that he is set to start a new role in the Supercar Series in Australia. Okay. And that's where he started several years ago. And the article said, I think this was at Motorsport, so I'll give them the hat tip. It said that Massey is set to become the new chairman of the Supercars Commission, making a return to the category where he cut his teeth, joining the FIA. He will replace outgoing chairman Neil Crompton, who is understood to have lost his post due to key figures wanting to bring Massey on board. Now, that's interesting because if a defamed Michael Massey been drummed out of the of F1, if you're this Crompton guy and you're getting drummed out of supercars for Michael
Even
Massey,
mentioning his name, right?
yeah, right, right. I guess okay,
All right.
cool.
I mean, I think personally, he has so much expertise. Like, I just can't. It's so baby with the bathwater. I get it that he can't be in Formula One anymore.
Yeah,
Fine. But he has to be employed somewhere. And I just think that's so much experience to just be like, nope, that guy, he's,
I know.
person non grata everywhere. That just seems crazy.
It is crazy, and I started reading all the comments on social media, which I should know never to
Never
do.
to do, right?
And I was reading those, and it was like, oh no, this guy should never be hired by anyone ever. And it's like,
Right.
I,
I just don't, I mean, that's not, I mean, first of all, I think most people, when they aren't successful at a job, and I'm not saying that's Michael Massey particularly, but I always feel like you're just in the wrong position. Like, I've
yeah,
definitely worked with people that we've hired, and I'm like, at the end of the day, this just isn't going to give you what you want. And
right,
there's only so much you can do as an employer, as team, as colleagues to kind of give them what they want. But eventually, you're just going to go like, well, here, this is this other job that I think is going to be a better fit. You should go do that, right?
yeah,
I just don't think that there's nothing for him to do. It's not like he like I don't know. He didn't stab my mom or something. Like, I just think he's still really employable
yeah.
somewhere. And he has a lot of expertise, and I would want to bring that in. Maybe he needs to lay low, but I don't know why supercars wouldn't want him. I don't know why this continues to follow him.
I don't
I
either.
just think it's ridiculous.
It's like if he went back to Australia and was going to get a job down at the local, I don't know, Quickie Mart in Canberra, there'd be
Right.
people saying no and sending
Yeah.
social media posts to the Quickie Mart saying you should never hire this guy. So he's selling a pack of Reds and a Hershey bar. Who gives a damn?
Yeah, you rung up my Twix bar wrong. What? I don't I I don't know. I just think that there's definitely a series out there that he can help. I just don't. He has so much experience. I'm just
Yeah,
not willing to say you done. Don't be
yeah,
race director anymore. Find go be a telemarketer and economist. I don't know, right? Like, I don't
right.
think he has to find a new career, even if he
No,
can't be in Formula One.
yeah, if it's not F1, okay, but there's a lot of other racing series that could benefit from that.
Right.
I guess let me put it this way. In closing, in summation, let me put it this way. If Pat Simmons can be involved in Formula One's new design of their 2022 car regulations after Crashgate, then I think Michael Massey can have a job somewhere, for heaven's sake, in motorsport. Come on.
Right. Pat Simmons, not only did they like throw him out and bring
They
him back,
banned
but
him.
they threw him out and brought him in closer.
Hmm.
Right? Like, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous, right? Like, you're no good. We want you out of here. We're banning you. Now you can be part of the absolute family. Like,
yeah. You're in
that's
the
way
inner circle.
right. That makes no sense. So I don't know. I just think, I mean, again, social media is what it is, Twitter is what it is, but he should be able to find a place and have a job. And, I don't know. I just think people are, I don't know. It's not something worth even just saying, oh, we should hire Michael Massey. And people are like, well, you shouldn't have a job. What did he do? I mean, he did do a big thing, but again, I guess in my opinion, I agree that the mistake he made was big and wrong, but also 100% understandable, right?
Yeah.
As a human being, I understand how he ended up where he did and he made the decision he did. So I just don't see, again, he didn't try to murder my mom. I'm sorry, mom, if you're listening to this, give the man a job. I just
I
think this
agree.
is too much. Too much, people. Let it go.
I agree.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
Absolutely
Maybe he
agree.
should grow a mustache, right? Like, change his name, grow a mustache, wear a hat, right? And then nobody will know.
Yeah, he could be Mikhail Massini. He could be
Yeah,
Italian. He's
right,
got dark hair already, but just a mustache.
right.
Hey.
He could be. I think it's much like I joke that like Kimi Räikkönen during COVID with a mask because he'd wear the mask and the big sunglasses and the hat. This is like peak Kimi Räikkönen because all you had was like this part of his face and this part of his face to tell who he was, right? That's
Yeah.
peak Kimi Räikkönen. He could get anywhere and nobody could ever spot him or see him. That's what Michael Massey has to be. He just has to be like the biggest N95 he can find, some big Sergio Perez sunglasses, a ball cap. Nobody would ever know it was him. Just
Yeah.
go in, do your race director job, walk out at the end of the day. Let it go, people.
Done. I agree.
I mean, really, like
Gonna have to let it go, folks.
I don't know.
Yeah, gonna have to let this one go.
Yeah.
All right. What other news did I find this week? Oh, this news just in from Nicholas Latifi.
This headline alone is pure gold.
It
Of course, Nikki, this is what you want. Of
Yeah,
course it is.
Nikki wants Williams to judge him on his last 4 races effectively.
Yeah,
He
me too.
says,
I
and if
just want you to look at what
Williams
I
is
did.
listening, I'd like for them to judge me on the last 2 podcasts.
Yeah, right. Like not the whole 787 podcasts plus the extra podcast.
Right, and not all those podcasts that I was doing. Yeah, not those.
Just the 787 main podcast. Just the last 2. Those
Yeah.
are the only ones I went. Nice.
Right.
I like it. Nice job.
Right.
Go ahead. Nice, Ron. Good idea, Nikki.
Yeah, that's
Nice, Ron.
it's
There
a
it
good one.
is.
So anyway, Nicholas Latifi wants Williams to judge him on his performance since the British Grand Prix, when considering their options for 2023. So Alex Albon has re-upped, so he has a role. So this means
Yeah.
that Williams has a potential seat. Now, if I'm fair, he has done a little bit better since the British Grand Prix because he was given a new chassis, and he feels like he said, I'm not saying the other chassis was crap. I'm just saying 99.9% sure there was something slightly off with the chassis.
Yeah, not me. It was the car.
Yeah,
Not good enough, damn it!
yeah,
Not good enough!
exactly. So now he's saying that this new chassis, and since the British Grand Prix, that's what it's not the last 2 years or anything.
No.
I mean, don't look at the last
No,
2 years.
and please don't compare me next to George, right? Like, let's not.
Yeah, no comparison there. I mean, just really the last 4 races, I think.
Right, that's it.
Even now, having said that, here, let me give you the harsh truth. The harsh truth is that on balance, Alex Albon has him bested 11-2 in qualifying and 10-3 in the racing. But Latifi wants the team to look at his recent performance, saying this quote: "Now that I do feel much more comfortable in the position I'm in with showing up the weekends, knowing that, okay, if I drive the way I know I can drive and get as much as I can out of the car, then the performance is where it needs to be, which I think is deserving of staying in F1." And he told this HatTipMotorsport.com. He said, whereas obviously at the beginning of the year, that wasn't the case. I've made my position clear that you can't deny the past races. What's the change in performance? And I put more pressure on myself now because performance is there now for the team to assess. So they can assess me from now onwards. So he feels like, I mean, it's kind of a word salad, if I'm honest,
I mean,
of trying to back
isn't-
your way into saying, just assess me on this last race where I did fairly well.
I mean, isn't his big achievement was that he was like first in practice 3. Like, congratulations! I mean, and everybody was that at Hungary. I'm sorry,
So
it was
he
one
did
of
get
those.
a point, right?
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but everybody talked about him coming on top of the sheets at P3. Like, oh my god! Like,
Yeah.
yo, this is not even a sprint race, people. It's still practice, and
Yeah.
not even P2, which is actually where you see what they're most likely going to run at the races, right? First
Right.
practice, third practice are kind of like, well, nobody knows what fuel they're running, what parts they're running. P2 is what you really got to look at, right? But congratulations. I just was like, great. I don't know. To me, I just felt like I would perhaps be embarrassed if that was the greatest thing on the top of my resume. But I don't know. I guess, you got to race what you got. But I just think the idea to come out loud and say, like, yo, let's not look across my 3 years of experience here. Has it been 3 years? I don't know. 3 years of experience. I'm going to stick with that. Somebody's yelling at their car radio right now, like 2 years. There you
Yeah.
go. Whatever. Has it only been 2 years?
I
Man.
can't remember. It seems like he's been
Isn't
here an
this the third
eternity.
year? This
It
would be
may
the
be.
third year. Okay, that I might buy. Anyway, again, people know they're now yelling at me because they know the answer that I don't. But anyway, like, don't look across all of that. And especially because the team knows, right? The team has all that data. They're able to say, oh, here's where we put on a part that that was on us, or that was, like, they're able to adjust that in a way that we can't as outside observers. They know what's their fault and what's your fault, sir. But I like this. I like this. This takes a lot of chutzpah to come out and say, just grade me on these last four that I still didn't do very good in. But just grade me on those. Let's not
Just
worry
on these
about.
last four. I mean, that's really all I'm looking for is the last. Well, since British Grand Prix, right?
Yeah, right. And let's not talk about all that other stuff I've done. I just think that is like chutzpah. That takes something to be able to just come out loud and say, like,
Yeah.
podcast 2, don't worry about that. Podcast 787, 786, those are the only ones I want you to listen to. Those are the good ones.
So I'll tell you what's thrown is he joined Williams in 2019 as their test and reserve driver,
Right?
but he started driving in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to look that one up because I'm like you. I'm thinking, gosh, it feels like 3 years. But,
Well, and then under COVID, right? Both the
yeah, right.
seasons and all our lives, I'm like, everything now just feels like dog years. I'm not really sure what year I'm
It
living in
does.
anymore.
Yeah,
Or
it does. I think I aged 7 years during that year.
I have no idea. So but it's something. It was
Yeah.
3 years.
Well, you know, the challenge here ultimately is the money, right? Latifi's
Wow.
bringing his father's investment and significant amount of cash to the team. And as
Yeah.
a small team, that's a very important issue. And the big question is, if it wasn't Nicholas, who might bring that kind of investment to the team as a paid driver, right? With Piastri is now linked to McLaren and not coming in at Williams. Is there another Mercedes driver that could fit in this spot for Toto? Is there a driver he'd like to move into that role? In the end, it'll come down to who has the cash or offer to take that seat. And some say Logan Sargent might be in the hunt, the American driver. But you have to also keep in mind it's an American-owned team, so maybe that's a reality there for Logan since they have Alex, and Alex has been in the series for a while. But
So basically what you're saying is that I have to envision him as he's saying this quote out loud. He's also like pushing a lot of money across the table. Please only grade me on my last 4 races. Here's a whole load of money from my dad, right?
right,
Like, yeah, because that's definitely going to be part of that discussion.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
that
think
Lavazza
that
money
will.
goes pretty far. Yeah,
Yeah, it does, in
and nobody
Formula
wants to
One
find a
too.
new coffee sponsor, right, for the motorhome.
No, and Williams wisely doesn't want to succumb to the rich energy debacle.
No, that's right.
Doesn't want to do that.
Oh, although Yost Capito going nuts on the rich energy guy, that would be fun.
So, something about Yos Capito going all
I said Capito,
medieval
I'm
on some guy
sorry.
with a beard. That's hilarious.
Yeah, sorry, I mispronounced his name. But anyway, I'm glad that you just like filled that in and you knew what I was talking about. But anyway,
I did.
nonetheless, Yost Capito would be great. And actually, it's because like my seventh grade social studies teacher was named Mr. Caputo, and so it's all in there somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah.
totally an aside, we're watching our friend's cat named Leo, and I have a cat named Levi, and literally I've called Leo Levi like 700 times today. So that cat may not answer to Leo when his owner gets back. He will only answer to Levi. I don't know. It's not my strength. It was
That's good.
close. He got it. All right.
That's good.
Moving right along.
Moving on. Okay, so speaking of drivers, silly season, that kind of thing. So it was also revealed as this British news outlet can reveal, Antonio Giovinazzi,
Antonio.
Antonio, is going to be practicing for Haas. So recall, Antonio Giovinazzi
Yeah.
was a driver at Alfa Romeo, part of the Ferrari stable of drivers, as is Mick Schumacher. And then he was taken out of that seat. Joe Guan Yu was given that seat. Antonio moved to a reserve driver role for Alfa Romeo. So, as a reserve driver, Antonio Giovinazzi will be sitting in during FP1 for Haas at the Italian Grand Prix as well as the US Grand Prix in Austin.
Okay.
So he's going to replace Kevin for one race, and then he's going to replace Mick for the other. Now, Antonio is certainly looking to get back into F1 as a Ferrari sponsored driver, but seats are pretty limited, as we know. But there has been talk that Mick might be on his way out at Haas, and given Giovinazzi's track record, you know, with Sauber
Yeah,
and being a
right.
Ferrari, that maybe that is a quick replacement for Mick if he leaves. Although I would say that his track record at Alfa Romeo in the past, I'm kind of curious if he would make any big difference in the team's performance, if I'm honest.
I mean, Gio is also a low-key paid driver, so
Yeah,
putting that
yeah,
out there, right?
yeah. And would there be a big delta between him and Mick? I don't
Not the new
know.
Mick, right? Like
Not the new Mick.
old Mick, yes, but not new Mick.
Right, right. So this leaves either politics or money at the root, or in fairness, perhaps Gunther has seen enough of Mick, or perhaps Mick's seen enough of Haas. It's hard to say. Um, would Mick be a possible placement for Alonso since Oscar has apparently tied his horse to McLaren? Chances are Alpine has little or no interest in Daniel Ricciardo, so maybe that's a fit. But there is that Ferrari tie-in that Mick has. So would Sauber Alfa Romeo make more sense as a replacement for Joe? Although it's my understanding that the team is pretty happy with Joe
Right.
Guanyu. If that happened, would Joe be of any interest to Williams? Because he would be a paying driver that brings money.
Why would you I don't think they'll get rid of Joe. They just brought him in,
I
right?
don't know
That
that
doesn't
they
make
would
any
either.
sense.
I think he's done a really good job this year, and I
I
don't
mean,
know
that
that he
too, right?
would. Yeah, and he brings
No,
money.
right? That
But
one doesn't make any sense.
if they were going to do that to make room for Mick, then if you were Williams, knowing Joe brings money, that may make sense
Why wouldn't you just get rid of Kevin Magnussen?
because he's already signed to a multi-year deal.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see.
he's got that multi-year deal.
Come on.
So then you would have, if Joe moved to Williams, well, that's an interesting dynamic. You have a Chinese driver and a British Thai-born,
Right.
or a British-born Thai driver.
I
So
like Tyborn. That makes him sound like he's a
Thai-born
Cylon or something, right? Like
does
Tyborn.
by your command. Yes, I like it. That's
Um,
old school Battlestar
that
Galactica.
sure is, right? But I think that, um, so say we all. That's new Battlestar Galactica for you. So
Ah,
anyway, I don't think they're going to get rid of Joe. I think the only reason to bring Geo in is for the money. I mean, I like the guy. That's not, that's not what this is about. But again, low key pay driver that nobody really talks about, but that's absolutely what he was. Um, I don't think Haas wants to get rid of Mick. I could see that maybe Mick wants to get rid of Haas, but I don't know that that's much of a jump higher, though, right? Like maybe if he went to Alpine, but honestly, if it was up to me, I'd say I can't believe I'm about to say this sentence. I would stay at Haas over going to Alpine.
Would you?
I mean, I guess they're mid-pack, but they just have no heart. Like what is Alpine got going? Like at least Haas has heart. And I think I'd rather be in a team where now I'm seeing success. The team is seeing success. We're doing well. And they have heart. I mean, Alpine has never. They've been in this sport for what, 12 years? They've never shown any sort of like gumption. I, I don't know. I mean, I guess in pure points perspective, of course, they're a mid-tier team that is higher than a back marker, right? So of course Alpine is higher than Haas, but that's not the only thing we use to make that decision, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I It is curious. I probably would. Um, what does Alpine have? Well, they got Alan Permain. Do you need anything else?
Well, clearly they do, Alan Permain. What is this team doing? I mean, I agree that you don't need anything more than Alan Permain, but clearly this team is just squandering that genius.
Right.
What are they doing over
Why are
there?
you not capitalizing on the genius that is Alan Permain?
Right. Like, how many smart people can you have at one team and still not get anywhere?
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
So, well,
I
hey,
don't
and
know.
let me throw this other curveball.
Okay.
So you got the Mick, Tonio,
Mm-hmm.
well, wait. You got Mick, Tonio,
Mm-hmm.
the Williams possibility. But on the flip side of it, while Alpine may not have any interest at all in Ricardo, a smaller team very well
Oh,
may have, like
absolutely.
Haas, like Alpha,
Absolutely.
like Williams, right?
Yes. Any of those three teams would fall over themselves to get Ricciardo. Why wouldn't you? Right?
Right,
He's going to
right.
bring so much know-how. Why? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what I was thinking as I was putting the notes together. I thought, well, wait a minute. I mean, it's easy to say, okay, so McLaren's dumping Ricardo, they're done with him, and Alpine doesn't want him. And I've seen some articles, excuse me, I've seen some articles saying that Ricardo's pretty much done for F1. But then I
Oh,
thought any one of these teams I think would be interested in him, don't you?
yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you wouldn't be. I mean, even if he never scored another point for you, I mean, he's been at Toro Rosso, he's been at McLaren, he's been at Renault. Like,
Yeah,
I guess I always think of the Flavio Briatore after Spygate. Like, I don't know why you don't just steal each other's engineers. That's what we do, right? I
right,
mean,
right.
he's a walking library. Why wouldn't you just take him? And then the other thing too is that you could build a team around him, which I don't know that Ricciardo's ever had, right?
Right.
So well, I guess he did at
Yeah,
Renault, but
Renault should have been.
but that we won't
Yeah.
count that. But I think that mostly because it doesn't make a good narrative for me. But I don't think that Renault is really.
Well, let's just be honest. They were supposed to do that at Renault, but they weren't making the best use of Alan Permain over there. So,
Nobody needs your help. Stop. For those of you that are listening to the audio only version of this podcast, Mikasa is trying to help me record this currently. Nobody needs your
yes,
help, lady. So anyway, I think that yeah, absolutely. Any of the back three teams
I would
would
think
love to have Ricciardo. Now, would Ricciardo want to go
that's the
there?
bigger question.
Right, because that's really like the kiss of death to your career, right? Maybe you could go to Alpha. I think you could go to Alpha and save
I think so.
face.
Yeah, because Valtteri did, and he's done
Yeah,
pretty well.
right. And so I think that would be fine. But I think
Yeah.
if you went to Haas or Williams, that's
Ooh,
it's a little harder to swallow when you have to go into that job interview and you have to explain that gap between your employment. That one's going to be a
yeah,
little harder, right?
yeah,
Um, but you could also be full Kimi Räikkönen and just not care and just be like, NASCAR trucks, I'm going to go. I'm going to race in this one off and I crash. I don't care, whatever,
yeah.
right?
I'm gonna
Like,
rally for this team, whatever.
just go be full Kimi Räikkönen. Just go whoever's going to pay you the most money. I don't know. That worked for Kimi. So, um, but yes, they would want him. I think Ricciardo. I like the idea of Ricciardo and Bottas together, like as the dejected second drivers that never should have been dejected, right? That are good
Yeah,
talents in their
yeah,
own
yeah,
right,
yeah.
they got like the short stick because of who their teammates were, and it was totally undeserved. They should be
See, I
running
love
ahead
that.
of the
That's a
team.
great story. They could both wear T-shirts that say "To whom it may concern,"
Yeah, right.
right?
Bleep 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 you. Yeah,
Bleep, bleep,
right.
bleep, right?
Yeah.
And both Valtteri and Daniel Ricciardo giving it hell over at
And I
Alfa
think
Romeo.
they're both kind of have that same snarky wits, although Bottas is a little more subtle than Ricciardo's. But
Yeah,
all right, dear people who listen to this podcast who can do things, this is what you should be doing.
it is. It
I don't,
is.
I don't know that that's going to happen either, but that's the dream right there. I think that would work out really well for both of them and for Alpha.
Right. And if they hung in there long enough, if Audi comes in by them, then they could find themselves at a works team.
There you
Again,
go. Just wait it out.
yeah, I
But
like it.
yeah, I don't know. And I just feel like, I don't know, should Mick go to Alp? God, that's such a like, again, make it Alpine. Again, it's a step up. That makes total sense. But is it? Is it a
Yeah,
step up?
I don't know that they do it either because Mick's tied to Ferrari. I don't know if
Yeah.
Alpine want to do that, but
But I think he's finally got it worked. He's finally got it worked out. Like, don't leave Haas now. They're finally on the up and up.
I know.
You know,
Yeah,
they're, they're finally not the team we all feel sad for. So
right.
Drive to Survive 2022 isn't going to be like Gunther just answering angry phone calls, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
So maybe stick with that until you can get a front tier team. I guess Ferrari. Until you can get in a Ferrari,
So
just
if
hold
you
tight.
were if you were Fred Vasseur at Alfa Romeo,
Mhm.
would you take Mick over Joe or and I don't think you'd take Antonio because you've already been there
Right.
and that didn't work. Would you take Mick over Joe, knowing Joe's bringing investment and presumably Mick is too with very strong Ferrari ties,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I just don't want to throw Joe out already. He just got
Yeah,
here,
I know. He's
right? Like
doing a
that
great
just seems
job.
seems so short-sighted and that yeah, and
Yeah,
I think the thing is too is it's always hard. I know it is for me, but it has he's Mick Schumacher, right? Like it's hard to not carry that forward. That like if he was, Mick Jones, would I feel the same way as I do about Mick Schumacher? I don't.
right.
You're right. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to separate that. And certainly that's happened for other drivers too. It's not just Mick Schumacher, but, kind of like, I guess how I always talk about like Williams is the team that from my heart, if my hopes and dreams could power a team, I want Williams to be successful, right? Especially
Yeah,
while Frank was still there. We like hoped them to be successful and hope isn't enough, right? And so I
right.
think it's the same way with Mick. I want him to do well, but hope isn't enough. But I think that he's finally starting to show he's turned that corner. And I think we've all been in that place, like whether it's the first time you score a goal or the first, like when you're learning a new thing, that first time you break that duck and you're like, oh my God, we won, or I
Yeah,
became successful, or I built this table and oh my God, it's actually a table and I don't have leftover bolts. Whatever it is, the first time you kind of like accomplish that thing, everything turns around. And I just think he's hit that point where finally he's like, I've scored points. I have confidence. I know what I'm doing. So I think Mick needs to hang in at Haas. And I just couldn't get rid of Joe. I just think that would be,
yeah. So
I think
everybody
that'd be
stays
short
where they're
sighted.
at, except for Dan. You're
Yeah,
out.
except for Ricciardo,
Right.
which is kind of sad too. But
It is
we
sad.
did also just watch a YouTube video from his podcast, or from not his podcast, from his channel. So not McLaren, not like an unboxed video from McLaren, but himself eating fried. He's in LA eating fried chicken off the back of McLaren, right? Like, all right, live your life, man. Like do what you can while you can, and um, I don't know. I don't want to see Ricciardo go, but it's also happened to less,
Yeah,
I just think it hasn't worked out for him. And I guess that makes it, again, in
right,
my heart, it makes me sad that it hasn't really worked out for him. But
right.
on paper, it just hasn't panned out for him.
Yeah, it happens to the best.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate. But since Red Bull, when we have to look back to Red Bull to see,
Yeah,
and you're not Fernando Alonso, who seems to be Magic Alonso seems to be the only person that cannot be successful and yet continue to move to
I
another
know.
team. I
I
don't
know.
know. It's a real skill. We were also watching a video that Race put out. They were talking about like the magic of Alonso and how he's always able to make the conversation about himself. I'm like, it is a real marketing skill. He could be doing a master class on how to like always keep the attention on you at all times. He's really managed to be able to do that over a 15-year career
Were
in a
they
way that
were
nobody
they
else has.
marveling at it, or were they sort of taking a jab at him?
Uh, I don't know. I guess somewhere I didn't think they were taking a jab at him. I don't think they were sort of. I think they were just kind of stating it like that. Here we are again. Alonso seems to be able to stay on the front page of every F1, newspaper. They, again, my words, not theirs. They say things very intelligent and eloquently that I'm just butchering. But just more the idea that like somehow this guy who's 42 years old still ends up staying on the like tip of everybody's like must-have list, or everybody's still talking about him, even though we should have stopped talking about him a long time ago from a just like on paper kind of perspective.
Yeah.
But yet he still has somehow managed to stay on top of the marketing train and just keeps reinventing this thing and keeps getting teams to buy into the Alonso-ness, even though what success is he still riding on? And that breaks my heart to say that as a big Alonso fan, but I mean, I don't know. So maybe Ricciardo needs to spend some time with Alonso and work this out. Maybe he can figure out how to like up his marketing game, because Alonso seems to have that like to the T of how to like, keep yourself out there, keep your name in everybody's mouths, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a real skill he's got.
It is. So this weekend we head into the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps.
Or it's raining over here and it's dry over there.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, I had an email about this in between last podcast. So just to reiterate, we've been saying since 2005 that phrase that did you know it could be raining on one part of the track, and okay, they've been saying that every single broadcast of every single Belgian Grand Prix for in perpetuity, and it's become such a dog-eared phrase that you literally would have to be from Mars if you didn't know that, right? And so yes, we've been making fun of it since 2007.
It's hilarious. I mean, because literally it's like, countdown to, before somebody says that, oh, we made it 10 minutes into the race before somebody said, it could be raining. It's the Ardennes Forest. It could be raining on one half of the track and dry on the other. 5 seconds. It takes no time before somebody mentions that.
Yeah, it's always very
every
good.
time.
Yep. So Spa-Francorchamps is coming up. It happens to be one of my all-time favorite tracks, if not my favorite, because let's be honest with you, the Belgians knew what they were doing when they made that track.
Yeah, for sure.
It was epic and still is. So keep in mind, as we head into this weekend at Spa, there's a lot of talk that Formula One could be kicking it off the calendar to make room for all these new races. That, in my mind, should be an act punishable by death, because Spa should be on the calendar always.
Are they like the new Silverstone? Like this happened, during the Eccleston years. Every year, the BRDC had this argument with Eccleston over and over and over again. Every year, Silverstone's on, Silverstone's off. Sometimes it was off actually, but and Spa's been off the calendar before too. But I just think I don't know anybody that's ever been like, oh, Spa. I don't know. Like when we went through the races last year that we would cut. I've never heard somebody go, I don't, Spa, maybe. Never. I've never heard that.
I'm sure there are some out there who Spa really doesn't do it for them because it's a long track, not a lot of passing, and I'm sure they feel that way. Now, this is new regulation of cars, so we may see a different kind of racing.
And I hope they keep that helicopter view where it's, again, I'm doing a visual, so if you're only listening to the audio, you can't see it, but, that the helicopter is going this way and the cars are going this way, so it's like pulling back away from the cars and they're heading towards the helicopter. That's a great shot. They need to keep doing more of that, as opposed to what you usually see is that the helicopter is going the same direction as the cars, as opposed to the cars coming towards the helicopter. So, anything, we watch all of these races. When you can get something really interesting and or you're watching the car that you should be, we should applaud you. Because there's a lot of times that the people they're showing, you're like, I don't know why you're showing me this car. This is not interesting right now. There's this interesting thing going down 4 cars down. Why are we watching that?
I know. So Spa is just awesome, and
absolutely.
It's coming up. But keep in mind that as we head into this weekend, we're faced with a new clampdown on the amount of flex of the floors, the amount of flex they can have on the cars, as well as the amount of bouncing they can exhibit. Now, this could catch teams out or reduce performance, or it may not, but keep your eye out for any significant drops in outright pace. Also, keep in mind that performance can be very track specific. And if a
Oh,
team
right,
is
for sure.
down on pace at Spa, it may not be 100% attributable to these changes, but it might be. So it's hard to tell because track is such a different type of track.
Right.
Spa is such a different type of track that some cars will naturally excel here and others won't. So it's always difficult to balance. Are we seeing these regulation clampdowns at play at Spa, or is it just Spa itself and the cars aren't being flattered like they were 3 weeks ago? So hard to tell, but we'll have to get a couple, two, three races under our belt to see what these regulations may or may not have done.
That's right. And we'll also know how much Christian Horner's whinging about things. That's always a good marker of whether or
Yeah,
not the
right,
regulations are working one way or the other. I
right.
guess one could also argue that Toto Wolff does some whinging, but I think
Okay,
Christian Horner does a pretty good job of it.
yeah. So, and
His is more entertaining.
I did like the comment on the last podcast on YouTube. They said, "That's right, Grace. Let that Red Bull hate flow."
I have a lot of it. I'm fine with it. I am upfront. I have a lot of Red Bull since day one.
There was a
I don't think I've ever
day
liked that team.
that you really kind of liked this plucky upstart team when they were cheeky and they did the
They were
Red
funny,
Bulletin,
yeah,
and when they
right.
systematically insulted the entire nation of France. You liked them back then. It's when they all got serious and started winning all the championships that you got cold.
So I like their like first year and a half, right? Like then
Right.
I don't know. I
Right.
mean, I think the thing is that in many ways, I hate the team for purely as a fan, as a McLaren fan, not as someone doing a pod here, right? Like
Yeah.
I am my all my objectivity, right? Like, but I think I hate Ferrari as a team most, but all my drivers go to Ferrari. So then there's
Yeah.
some part of me that can never completely hate Ferrari because Carlos is there, right? Like it's like so every driver I ever have an affinity for, Kimi, Alonso, right? Carlos, they all end up going to Ferrari. So then I can't hate on them too bad because then I'm hating on my former drivers. And as I
Yeah.
stated a couple podcasts ago, a win for one of my drivers at Ferrari is a win for McLaren because otherwise, how will we get any wins? So
Right.
I can't hate Ferrari that much, but none of them seem to really go to Red Bull. So then I'm just like, I think all of my hate just goes straight to Red Bull because I can't completely hate on Ferrari as much as I'd like to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody knows I'm a Ferrari fan, but and it is that way. Ferrari has such a prime history that a lot of the
Yeah,
drivers want
right.
to race for Ferrari. And you may not agree with that, but there is a gravitas that comes with participating in every single year of F1 ever since
I think
existence.
there
So that's
absolutely is. Right,
yeah. So
absolutely.
there is that, and it's an interesting and having gone or went whatever the correct term is, to Ferrari and toured extensively, sort of behind the scenes, and spent
Hmm.
time with their
Yeah,
chief brand officer and engine team and all that. Um, I mean, you could, if you've never been there or anything like that, and you're new to Formula One, you sound the kind of, oh, I hate Ferrari. Rah, rah, rah." That's cool, man. Everybody has their team, right? Everybody has their
yeah,
team. But as a Formula One fan, when you go to Ferrari, and you spend time in Maranello, it's unreal. It's hard to describe how interwoven the nation of Italy and Ferrari are. It's
right.
like you and the land are one. And it's really cool. But having said that, yes, I'm a Ferrari fan, but that doesn't mean I don't like the other teams either. I think McLaren's great. I think Zach's done an amazing job with that team. I think Red Bull. I got a lot of time for Red Bull. I like them. I like their scrappiness. I like um, how they approach what they do. I like their young driver program and what it's done for young drivers, and even if they don't get into F1, they end up having good motorsport careers in different series. Um, and Mercedes, I think Mercedes kind of crapped the bed here in the last year, and I'm a little disenchanted with that. Um, but it's an amazing team and what they've achieved. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I think I can both hate Ferrari and appreciate what you're stating,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's their, you know, I mean, I think that's,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. So it's
yeah. If they
that's the
called me
beauty of
up,
F1.
if they called me up on the phone and said, "Hey, Grace, do you want to come visit?" I would go visit. It's not like I'm gonna be like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
nope.
yeah. No,
But
you would love it. You would enjoy it.
I might make snarky comments along the way, but I would go and I would enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You'd
I
say,
think
"Oh,
that's fair.
is that the car that Massa wrecked or what?"
Oh. Oh, is this the one he almost won a championship in? Oh,
Ah, that one.
almost.
Yeah, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, I'd have to do a lot. I'd have to like write like dates or something on my hand because we all, I think if you're, unless you're brand new to this podcast, unless you've literally only listened to the last 4 podcasts, we all know me and like, you know, historical events, not my
Dates,
strength.
yeah, yeah,
But I'd
yeah,
have to like have like an index cards for my insults, like, oh, did you know? Fun fact.
yeah. Yeah. No, you would love it. I mean, it's like I
Yeah.
went into where they actually keep the real F1 cars, and I'm sitting there inches away looking in the cockpit of the 2004 Ferrari of Schumacher's.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn
I
cool.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, look, to draw the parallel, you'd be a Mercedes fan and standing and looking into Lewis's 2008 championship car. I mean,
Right.
how cool is that?
But I
But
mean, I think that's the same thing that, I mean, I think any of that, I guess there's some other level that's sort of like, it's no different than like going to a city or, and being like, oh, this famous person stood here, or like, oh, the Constitution was written in this building. Like, there is a sense of
mhm,
like, even if they're not my team, it's like Michael Schumacher sat here,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that definitely rises above any sort of like fandom. I mean, I think the same would be the true if you were at McLaren. I'm like, they certainly have cars there that you'd be like, I need a
Oh,
moment,
yeah.
right? So I think
This
that,
is Senna's car.
right. So I think there's
Unbelievable.
just,
And that's true. I mean, look at like when Lewis is
mhm.
driven one of Senna's McLarens, right?
Yeah,
He
right,
was just as in awe as I was standing next to Schumacher's '04
right.
Ferrari, right? Martin Brundle, those are
Yeah,
cars that he raced hard against, right?
right,
But
right.
to see that, and the reverence he has for it is so cool. But
So I think I guess that's a whole separate kind of like place in my
yeah, it is.
phantom, right? That's like kind
Yeah.
of like you're saying, like Senna. Like I think if you were not a McLaren fan, but you had a chance to see one of his cars, why wouldn't
Oh
you?
yeah.
Why wouldn't you go to the Paragon and see that? So
Yeah.
I think that's a separate thing from, it's Ferrari and why do you keep having to hire my drivers? Because, I find that really annoying then to root against you.
Right. Right. Right.
Because I just want Carlos to do well. Why do you have to do this to me?
Right.
Again.
Right.
I had to root for Kimi Räikkönen winning a championship at Ferrari. How painful was
Oh,
that?
that was hard. Yeah, those were tough days. Those were
Those
dark
were
days for you, Grace.
it was very conflicted, but
I
he
know.
has a
Because the whole
championship.
time you're cheering, but you're thinking
It's a shitbox.
Yeah.
it was tough.
Even though that movie wasn't out yet, but absolutely,
Right. Right.
so
All right. Let's do some Alvin's cats. Yes. Yes, we're going to do some Alvin's cats. Do you have any before I jump into Todd's no shit headlines?
well, of course I do. I don't want to
Shoot.
let anybody down, despite the fact that, again, this is the third week of summer break. So, first of all, I did want to give a shout out to Andrew Page's cat Mario, and give a shout out to the chat, right? So, Mondays at 4 o'clock my time, whatever time that works out to be elsewhere, Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. There's always some interesting questions. Sometimes he takes things that we've discussed in previous podcasts, or you and Paul talk about. Sometimes it's stuff that happened after we record the pod. So I always think they're fun. They ask fun questions. So anyway, first time, long time, his cat Mario had to have the snip snip today. So
Uh,
I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. It has to happen. And I'm also sorry about the paper litter that you now have to use for a week and a half until you heal up. But after that, it'll be fine. You'll be okay. It'll be fine, Mario. But he was a super cute cat. So Shout out to Andrew and to F1 Chat. Keep playing there. Keep
Yes.
participating. Next, I wanted to say, since we earlier talked about, I have totally lost the ability to speak. Since earlier we talked about Valtteri Bottas living his best life now,
Hmm.
like post Mercedes, right? I think if you are not following him on Instagram or any of the other social medias now that they
Yeah.
all like percolate into each other, and I just like everything about him. The bucket hats, the shirt. I don't know if you saw the American like flag shirt he
Yeah,
was wearing in Colorado.
I
That
did.
shirt was amazing.
It was great.
I mean, I just love this like it started from the like, face down in a river in Colorado and it's just gone from there, right? Like this Botas I'm really enjoying. I mean, he was like this at Mercedes, but it wasn't quite the same. He wasn't quite as free to just be himself. So
Right.
I welcome this Valtteri Bottas and
It's a
because
kinder, gentler Valtteri.
well, I did notice that the whole time he was in Paul Ricard, he wore the like Paul Ricard bucket hat,
Yeah.
which I loved. I love that he just wore it around like he was a fan. Like, I just think it's much more fun, and I'm enjoying it. So again, if you aren't following him on Instagram or again any of the 700 other social medias that this all proliferates onto, check it out. And finally, I did also want to mention, and it is Formula One related, that MotoGP is back. And so if you are not watching MotoGP, Alonso was at the last race. So that's how I feel like it's okay that there's them tie in there because he was there. And they asked him, because MotoGP is starting sprint races next year. And they asked him what he thought about it. And he kind of gave the like, it's great. It'll be a great time. And I'm just like,
Mm.
I don't know that it's a great time in Formula One. I really don't think it's a great time in MotoGP because what makes, first of all, MotoGP race is so much shorter, right?
Yeah,
It's like
right.
45 minutes an hour. And the end of the race is the best part because that's when everybody's tires are, like you can see who's been pushing it all race and who doesn't have anything left. And like cutting off the last 10 laps, I don't know. That to me just ruins a MotoGP race. But
Yeah.
we're going to be doing those sprint races next year, and Alonso was all for him. But that Fabio Quartararo kid, he's pretty good. He's still
He's
pretty
pretty
good.
good. Yeah,
So
keep an eye on him.
yeah, that's right. Big things are going to happen for that kid.
Yeah.
I can just feel it. He's like
Right.
21 years old, and he's doing great. So
The other thing I would add is, Kimi's back in NASCAR, right?
yes, right, for
Everybody's
a
like, "Oh
race.
my gosh, Kimi's gonna stand and stick out like a sore thumb." Mm,
Huh.
yeah, but not as much as his wife does. You got Mintu walking around the NASCAR.
That's right.
I have to think the other people in NASCAR that that's more of a stark collision of worlds than maybe Kimi,
I'd like to
cutting the.
know how many people did she talk to? Because again, people do this. Like they'll go, where? Where? That's an interesting accent. Where are you from?
Yeah,
Minnesota? Like
yeah.
I just want to hear where do people think she's
Are you
from?
from Alberta?
Right. I can't quite place your accent. Where are you
I know,
from?
I know.
That would be fun. I'm sure she
So,
got a lot of that.
yeah, I
And
bet she did. I bet she
but
did.
Kimmy again, Kimmy is Kimmy. They're gonna
It is.
pay. And they even interviewed me. He's like, they pay me money. I'm here. Like,
Yeah,
why do you ask him these questions? He doesn't care. Sure, he'll run your one-off race,
yeah,
whatever.
whatever.
You're going to give him money, he'll do it.
You'll do it. That's right. All
Yeah.
right. Here's my no shit headlines. First up, first headline is Max Verstappen tipped to eclipse Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher and end of F1 GOAT.
Who tipped him? Himself? I mean, what
No,
is this?
no, he didn't tip himself. No, I'm just reading the headline.
I mean, but that's a big part that's missing, like, his manager dot 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 tipped him to be better than Hamilton or
That's
Schumacher.
right.
Like, who is a big part of this headline that's kind of missing here? His dad, Jos Verstappen, thinks Max
Jos
Verstappen is
Verstappen.
tipped to ellipse, Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher as the F1 GOAT, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be
Well, I'll tell you who it is. It's gonna surprise you.
okay.
Pedro de la Rosa.
I just gave him the full Ted Kravitz sideways. Like, what? Well, I mean, I think you'd be, again, I'm reaching deep into my Red Bull hate here, but I'm not blind. Max Verstappen is a good talent. I'm not saying that, he's a terrible driver. Of course, I think that in the annals of Formula One history, Max Verstappen will be mentioned. Do I think he's the next GOAT? I, I don't know. I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, well, look, I said the
He's
same
got
thing.
one.
That's exactly what I said about Lewis when he
Right.
entered the sport, and they were already saying he was going to
But
double Schumacher's record. He's like going to be the go. And I said, could we just start with one championship first
right.
before we start
But
ascribing
also,
great?
if you say that about everybody, you're eventually going to be right as
Yeah,
well.
sure. I wasn't saying Lewis wasn't.
No, no,
I was just
I'm not
saying
saying you.
let's just tone the rhetoric down a little bit here.
Yeah,
And I would say the same thing about Max. Max
let's
has
give it a
one under his
moment.
belt. That's great. But let's, when he gets to five or so, yeah, let's just see what's going on. But
Yeah, right. Like, right. Let's give it, and especially because I think honestly in Formula One, right, so much of it is built on cars in a way that isn't true
yeah,
in any other sport
for
except
sure.
for auto racing. So I think you kind of always have to give a driver some time because you want to see his greatness across rules, right? You want to see his greatness across eras or across, you know, engine types or something like that, or
Right.
across teams, right? You don't want it just to be in that moment he was really good because then you never see their strengths elsewhere. So
Right. But then he
again,
could get,
It's a
I'm not ready.
shitbox.
and it's over.
Yeah. So I mean, he's already going to be at Red Bull for life. So let's just give him a little more time before Pedro de la Rosa and we call him, the end of goatness.
Right. Let's see. Next up, the headline is, quote, Mick Schumacher sent three-word message about new contract by Haas boss. Do you know what that three-word message was?
To whom it may concern. That's only two words, but
F, F, F. No.
yeah. I was thinking like screw you guys, I'm going home, but that's clearly more than three words.
It,
um,
it was score more points.
all right. And I'm pretty
Or
sure that
you could say Gene says when.
like Gunther sent back, that's up to you.
Right. Right. So that was funny. Let's see
You
next.
you drive faster. Like this is like those magnet poetry, right? Like that on the side of a refrigerator. This would be great.
Fernando faster than you.
You all right. Like we could yeah, I think Haas would do great with some magnetic poetry on the side of the refrigerator. They
They
could come up with
would.
some really creative stuff, but
They would.
yeah.
All right. Next up, Toto Wolff slams Bull's S. You know what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
BS. Lewis Hamilton rumors as he quashes talk of replacing Star.
So Toto Wolff said it's BS that he's replacing Lewis Hamilton.
Yes, the rumors were that Toto or Mercedes was chatting to Sergio about replacing Lewis and Lewis
What?
retires. That was the rumor.
Who started these rumors? Nicholas Latifi? I don't think.
It's probably Alonso.
Right, Magic Alonso trying to keep himself relevant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Or it could be George Russell in the basement.
Exactly. I just don't. Nobody with any like not ulterior motive is making that rumor.
Yeah,
Dear Toto, read less Twitter, right? Like, not everything you read on Twitter should be something you comment on.
turn computer off.
Walk away now, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So
Why
there
would
you
they,
have it.
why would they replace him with Sergio?
Oh,
Also,
I wrote a piece on our website about that. I I gave him the benefit of the
yeah.
doubt. If he said it's BS, okay, that's fine. But I did think it was interesting of Sergio and why. And then I went down this whole tinfoil hat
Mm-hmm.
thing, and I fully admit it is a tinfoil hat, conspiracy, but you can read it on our website, theparkferme.com. But and I was kind of saying if it were true, what that might or could signify, and why he would be the choice um, to replace him. So anyway,
But why would Sergio leave Red Bull?
well, he's got a 2-year deal, right? So I don't know the
I
answer to
don't
that.
know. I think unless Red Bull gets rid of him, and also he's not a spring chicken either,
No,
unlike
no.
Fernando Alonso, who seems to forget that he's also not a spring chicken. But
Right,
Sergio has been doing this for a long time. I think that, I don't know.
right.
I don't know how
So
many.
this next headline, there was a lot of praise and a lot of introspective metaphysical um, comments on social media about just how astute this was. The headline is, quote, Total Wolf studied Manchester United to learn about Mercedes' failings amid drop in form, end quote. A lot of introspection about how that ticks a lot of boxes of great management looking into other iconic teams and leaders and learning from them on their missteps. And meanwhile, all of those same people were castigating Christian Horner when he said to the question, well, do you ever get bothered by all the negative comments about you? And Christian said, I don't know. I'm sure Alex Ferguson didn't really care about the negative comments of him. Oh my gosh, compared himself to the great Alex Ferguson, unheard of. What a stooge. So anyway, I thought the juxtaposition of those two stories was kind of funny.
Well, Christian Horner is a stooge, but not for that reason, is how I feel about that story.
Well, okay, we're going to agree to disagree. I don't think he's a stooge. I think he's a pretty wickedly
I
smart
know,
guy.
of course he is, but we're again, if this is like writing these headlines, if we're all just like, oh, Christian Horner, you're great, or oh, total, there's no fun in that. It's like a white
I know.
elephant gift exchange. If nobody
I know.
steals any gifts, this is boring, right?
I
Like,
know. I
so
know.
I have to be mad about somebody. Of course, I understand. Christian Horner has been very successful. He's a very good team owner, not a team
Yeah.
owner.
Team boss.
Thank you.
Yep.
I almost called him a crew chief. Man, this show has been. Anyway, thanks for hanging in there with us, people. But anyway, uh, yeah, but that's not fun,
Oh,
So
you gotta have fun with these. That's why I started this. I thought
I
it was
gotta
fun.
poke at somebody. But I think that
Yes.
I don't know. I think that I don't Toto Wolf looking at other team. I don't know. That seems like another set of people trying to find something to do. Week 3 of summer break. That's what that headline is.
Right.
We are digging through their trash trying to find
I
something
know.
to report.
I know.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing. And the comments, it's like,
great.
oh, it's a fool's errand. That's a ball sport. And it's like, oh my gosh, people,
But in some
stop.
level, management is management, right? Like to be
Yes.
successful is to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
successful, right?
Well,
So,
you could always learn from other, great companies and great
right,
teams who have
right.
had success, who have rode those peaks and valleys and what they did. Yes, there's tons to learn
I
there.
just think in a week, this is not the story that anybody would carry.
No,
Nobody would care,
you're right.
right? It's just because we're week 3 of summer break and
Right.
we got nothing. So
Well, I'll
that's what
tell
the
you a
headline about.
story that we'll always care about. It's this next one, Grace. This headline. This is well, it's crapping close to the front door for you.
Okay,
It's right
great.
here. Quote, exactly how McLaren's outdated F1 facilities hold it back.
They do?
The
Oh my
pa-
goodness.
I,
The
and,
Paragon?
and this is over at the race.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I can't remember the two gentlemen. Well, no, I don't remember one of them. The other one was Scott Mitchell, which for
Okay.
whatever reason is like his name's hyphenated, and I don't know what happened to him. But and I don't know anything about those British hyphenated male names, so apologies for that. I'm sure it's a very simple answer to that, but it's not an American thing. But anyway, so a hat tip the race for the article. I did read it and said that it starts off, McLaren's made no bones about them being really held back because they're still working on the very first wind tunnel that they ever built, and there's some other features around that
What are the
facility
people in
that's holding them back.
what are the people in the rectangle doing?
Well, this is exactly what I have in my notes. I said,
It
"What?"
sure
I
is.
said, what the heck are the squares or the rectangles doing to the
Right.
circles?
Right. What is the rectangle doing?
These are the circles. You can't have the people working in the circle impacted like this by the
No.
dorks in the rectangle.
The thought leaders in the rectangle need to be doing something here with the circle because the circle
Yes.
apparently is failing.
Yes, I
What are
mean
you
the
doing?
circle is nestled on lakefront property. It has the view, the vista, the open glass, and then you got a bunch of
The
propeller heads
rectangle.
over in the rectangle holding everyone back.
I just think, again, we often say like for first time, I think it was maybe it was anyway, if you ever look at the map of the Paragon, right? It literally is rectangle, thought leaders, circle, everything else, right? Like so
Right?
it literally, I don't know why they have like a site map. Because really there's apparently two buildings, the rectangle and the circle.
In the
So
circle, yeah.
I don't know what the rectangle people are doing, but man,
I
it's
don't
not working
either.
out.
They got to figure that out. Got to figure it out quick
Yeah,
because it's holding them back.
apparently so. Also, maybe a
What's that?
story that only shows up the third week of summer break.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Why are they still building a wind tunnel? What are they doing?
yeah. They're going
I
to be
don't, I
building a
don't,
new one.
I don't know.
Well,
I
they're
don't
going to
know.
build new, and then we get like a season or two of the wind tunnel correlation data didn't really translate on them,
Okay,
that sort of thing.
again, I'm not an engineer at all, but I mean, this doesn't seem like that should be something people don't know how to build that have some know-how, right? Like, it's a wind tunnel.
Yeah,
Why
well,
can't they
Ferrari
build a
struggled
wind
with that.
tunnel?
Yeah, I know.
Well,
It's
I
not
don't
easy.
know. Again, I'm not saying it is. I know that people tell me all the time, "Oh, no one should Survey Monkey," right? I get it. It's not, nobody likes being told, well, Google can do it. I'm just saying, they just feel like if every team in every form of motorsports has a wind tunnel, I don't know. Those rectangle people need to get it together, figure out how to build a wind
No,
tunnel already.
that's exactly right.
I don't know.
You can't have the rectangle people holding the circles back.
Don't be
They just
running the circle. It's not
no,
good.
can't
Stay in
do
your
it.
rectangle.
Cannot do it. Otherwise, you'll find yourself at the bottom of McLaren Lake, and
With the
you
3-page Ferrari technical manual.
and yeah, and Ron Dennis and the Davy Jones locker. So,
That's right. That's it. That's what's at the bottom of
because
that
that's
moat.
where Ron's evil lair is down there. All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. Is the news that we care to talk about this week. But if you want to chime in, feel free to do so over at theparkforme.com. Share your opinion. Just do it decorum and civility. As always, huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We could not and would not do this without you. So we really appreciate all of your kind support. We're very grateful for that. And be sure to tune in because Spa is up next. We'll be back next week to review the race. And until that time, this is Todd, aka Negative Gambler, saying so long, Grace.
See you in a couple weeks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.